right now.
I would like to call the November 12th, 2025 City Council regular meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Carey,
Present.
Chilson,
Present.
Hutchings, Nelson,
He has requested an excused absence.
Parker,
Yes, I'm here.
Wackler,
Present.
Kincaid.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is, may I have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda? Mr. Carey,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we approve the agenda and the consent agenda as presented.
second, please. Thank
I'll
you, Ms. Hutchings. Are there any changes to the agenda or consent agenda? Vice Mayor Parker,
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. I move to add lay down action memorandum 2025-024, request for an excused absence for the November 12th, 2025 regular city council meeting, Nelson, to the agenda and the consent agenda as new business item 8.4.
may I have a second, please? Thank you, Ms. Hutchings. Are there any council objections to adding 25 ACM 024 to the agenda and consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, it is added to the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
October 29, 2025 City Council Meeting Minutes. Ordinance 2025-036, accepting grant funds from the State of Alaska Department of Education and Early Development and increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $1,250 in the general fund to attend the Public Library Association Conference, sponsored by the city manager, public hearing on December 17th. Resolution 2025-037, commending the Soldotna High School football team as the Division II state champions for the year 2025, sponsored by the mayor. Resolution 2025-038, approving the employment agreement between the city of Soldotna and the Soldotna City Clerk, Johnny Blankenship, sponsored by Ms. Parker. Action Memorandum 2025-024, request for an excused absence from the November 12th, 2025 regular meeting, Nelson. That is your consent agenda.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on any of the items just read by the clerk? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on any item that was just read by the city clerk? I'll take a look at Zoom. And I see no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the approval of the agenda, consent agenda is back before the council. Are there any council objections to approving the agenda and consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda and consent agenda are approved by unanimous consent. And at this point, I will have a presentation of the resolution 2025-037, commending the Sohai football team who are standing out there in the hall. Come on in, guys.
Now you feel safe. That muscle. They don't look like boys. They look like men. Okay.
You're doing what they were told.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice.
This is resolution 2025-037, a resolution commending the Soldotna High School football team as the Division II state champions for the year 2025. Whereas the Soldotna High School staff qualified to participate in the first national bowl and Division II championship game held at Colony High School 5PLA. And whereas the Division II state championship football game featured Soldotna High School versus Lathrup High School and was held in Palmer on Saturday, October 17th, 2025. Whereas, under the direction of coaches Dale and Brandon, Michael Becker, Iowa Creel, Eric Joe Shirley, Theo Torres, Brent Walden, Trevor Walden, and Henry Williams. The Soldotna Stars ended their season with a 51-28 victory, their 15th state title and Division II title win for the third year in a row. Whereas, this is the Stars' 15th title earned under head coach Brandon's leadership. And whereas, members of the winning team, including Landon Wolverton, Owen Muskie, Trevin Moore, Wyatt Williams, Max Walden, Brian Bird, Ian Peck, Jane Carter, Eli Richards, Matt Kemp, Andrew Gibson Fielden, James Jaeger, McCabe Moore, Matthew Martinez, Lane Hillier, Nathan Kopek, Mason Fox, Matthew Schilling, Andrew Cooper, Chase Hall, Gunnar Lurvin, Moses Myers, Dan Stevenson, Tristan Barnes, Tristan Roberts, Phoenix Molsey, Toto Appeal, Lucas Chino, Theo Huff, Ben Bratt, Carter Hillier, Devin Gibson Fielding, Blake McDonald, Jason Crawford, Blake Cecil, Elias Brandon, Lachlan Pond, Bodie Chumlin, and Scott Weaver. I didn't hang on to that, did I? Now therefore be resolved by the City Council of the City of Soldotna, Alaska, that the Soldotna City Council commends the Soldotna High School football team with outstanding performance in winning the 2025 Division II title championship. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption, adopted by the City Council on the 12th day of November 2025. And you all want to stand up, or somebody wants to get a picture of all of you. Oh, we want to. Well, you can break another can with a bacon.
We got more coming in.
Yeah, you guys ready? You guys went to the borough building, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's why you asked.
This is the better half of the
Oh,
spot.
you know those guys are doing good.
Great. Job. Yep, ran the wrong place.
At least they showed up to the meeting.
Good job, guys.
Thank you guys.
Good job. Congratulations. How many are coming back next year? Coach, how many are coming back?
It'll be okay.
Oh,
How many are
as you
coming
always
back?
are.
I'm not sure exact numbers.
About.
And raise your hand if you're coming back.
Raise your hand if you're coming back.
Ooh, that's a lot. That's
Good.
great.
Yeah.
Good court. Yeah.
Nice.
How many are graduating?
Wow.
There you go, guys.
Good job, guys.
On graduation.
Thank you.
Well, they haven't done it yet. Theoretically.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Way to go.
I got a whole.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye. See you later.
Bye. Coach comes back.
Oh, sounds like he still has a kiddo.
He quit.
You tell me when to go.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a presentation with prior notice, and that's the Kenai Peninsula Hockey Association Ice Hawks, Kendra Dukowitz. I'm not going to try the last name. So you're up. You don't look like a Kendra.
Oh, it was,
Not,
this is sent the email, so.
Tony Own, something like that. Yeah. You don't, actually, you don't look like a Kendra.
I was not sent anything.
Okay, that's fine.
Can you turn the microphone towards you though, please? Make sure it's on.
So my name's Keaton Keel. I reside in, Kenai, Alaska. Something that really matters is whoever the whole connected hockey organization. I'm currently the coach of the 10U AA travel team and the 14U Tier 2 travel team. I just really, you guys probably remember me. We were here advocating for Sunrise. As I kind of sat down there and reflected on walking into the Soldotna Sports Center in the month of July, this last summer. I remember really, to be honest, almost coming to tears thinking about, I think it was about, I counted 21 years since the last time that we had summer ice availability at the Soldotna Sports Center when I was a kid. Just going back over all the money that all the parents had spent from kids leaving the Kenai Peninsula to go to really all over the country, mostly Anchorage or the Valley, for their kids to participate in summer ice programs. I think it was a huge success. I'm sure some of you saw the slide deck that I prepared, sent out to Joel, who was also just really, I'll commend Joel at the Parks and Rec. He was really easy to work with, and really, just like I said, a huge success. The numbers were great. Really just, like I said, really just want to say thank you for the opportunity. When I first came in here, I want to say it was in early 2024. I never really thought that would happen. I never thought that we'd get that opportunity. Personally, as a parent, not so much as a coach, I've spent plenty of money myself for my kids to go travel to Anchorage, travel to Las Vegas, travel to Michigan, just skate in the month of June and July. It's very deep on hockey players. I think obviously it's shown, you know, as we exited the months of July and August and into September and October, just from a coaching perspective, it really showed. The first tournament that my 10 AA team participated in this year, we played against the South Anchorage Oilers, and we won, beating them in the championship game. And I think 100% of that contributed to you guys on board on the city council, just from the preparation that they had through those months. So really thank you for that. It helped the checkbook as well as I'll say, from a coaching perspective, from an organizational perspective, we did very well on this show. From the older kids, I think it was good. You know, personally, jumping back and being a parent, my kid got to participate in summer golf and things like that, things that he hasn't really got to do over the last 3 or 4 years. You got to stay home. You got to wake up and go to bed. And you got to go to this sports complex, and I think some days he stayed 5 or 6 hours. You know, we got home and it's like praying for him, like, okay, here's dinner, okay, go to bed. Oh, you want to go to golf? Okay, so, you know, just really helped our community and helped our youth. So that's one thing. Thank you. I've kind of taken over from a scheduling standpoint. Really, not all bad that my kids had to leave at an early age. I got to meet lots of kind of network with lots of hockey coaches, different organizations, different hockey camp directors. This summer, I don't know if Joel shared with you guys at all, but we have probably one of the best hockey schools that I've ever seen here on sport for the last 30 years. We have Pro Ambition Hockey Schools coming, for 2 weeks this summer. They're scheduled for late July. Not so much back to back. I think they're like the third week of July, and then the very last tail end of July, working into early August. So they're coming. I'll personally run a hockey school myself for KPHA. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for this, but really just wanted to say thank you, and it was a huge success. And it was awesome to see. So thanks a lot.
And on behalf of a couple of the teams, we have a couple thank yous. To
Jill.
echo what Keegan just said.
Microphone, please. Thank you.
But don't go too far.
Yeah.
To echo what Keegan said, we are very, very thankful to have not only Summerites, but have a city council and city that is really prioritizing the use of our community. And it was great to see so many families from Anchorage at the camp here, when we're so used to driving to Anchorage and staying in hotels there for their camp. So it was awesome on behalf of the 14U Tier 2 team and the 10U AA team. We would not only like to say thank you to the city of Soldotna and the city council, but also the Friends of the Field House that have awarded multiple hockey teams scholarships to do what we call dry land workouts in the field house when they're not on the ice. So we would love to present the city and Friends of the Field House, Kathy Gensel, who's presenting Friends of the Field House, with these as a sign of our.
Thank you. I can remember about 30, 40 years ago when my son was playing for KPHA and SoHi. Glad to see you all out there. We love our hockey teams. We love our kids. We're glad that they can stay here instead of having to go up to Anchorage. I've taken that drive many times. I can remember one time that took us 12 hours to get there. Of course, we missed the game by the time we got there, but it's good to see everybody here. Thank you. I'll go that way first.
Mayor Whitney,
Go ahead.
for Mr. Keel. So what's coming up next for KPHA? I heard a rumor that there's hockey tournament this weekend, starting at 5:30 in the morning, the first game. But do you have more clinics, more tournaments coming up?
So I'm not. I'm also Sunrise. You know, this weekend is with Municipal Power Play Tournament. Do you know what annual? What I'm playing for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like 15, 14 years straight. And we ran that tournament, it's been a huge success. And the reason I don't know much about that is that's more like the house level. Great people. I think it's getting going forward, I think 2025 we showed such a success that we can build more of these camps. Going back to the second week of July when you guys first had the ice rink for us, into the Power Pro camp that came to town. Between the 3 different age divisions we had there was a total of 90 kids on the ice. I think that showed a lot of people and a lot of different organizations that we'd be able to build more camps. So like I said, we have between and I forgot to thank you on behalf of the Kenai River Brown Bears, because they ran a camp as well. Between the Brown Bears, the Ice Hawks, Pro Ambitions, and Greg Carter Hockey Schools, and Crazy 8 Hockey set up a girls camp that'll be girls exclusive exclusive girls camp that'll be coming to town, in July in 2026. I think we've just shown kind of a path forward that this is going to be something that, we can continue to really, in all transparency, really make money for the city on, and also provide a really good product for all of poker. You know,
Anything else from the council?
The other, if that would like to say something really quick about it.
Okay. Come on up. And thank you guys for playing a good hockey game.
Oh, welcome.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is public comments and presentations. And that anyone in the public wishing to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda. Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on anything not appearing on the agenda? I am looking at Zoom and I see one hand raised in Zoom. And that will be Ms. Vasquez. Do we have a way to connect her?
Yep, I've asked her to
Okay.
unmute.
Good evening, City Council. I would humbly ask that you ask the speakers who come up to the podium to turn on the microphone. I haven't heard a word said so far. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item is item 6, Assembly and Legislative Reports. I see no representative from the state or from the borough here in the chambers, and looking at Zoom, I see no one there. So moving on to the next item, item 7 on the agenda, public hearings. Ordinance 2025-032, amending Soldotna Municipal Code, Chapter 4, elections to change the regular election date, eliminate runoff elections, remove the requirement to publish in a newspaper of general circulation, and excuse me, extend the time allowed for canvassing election results, introduced by the mayor and Mr. Chilson. May I have a motion to enact?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to enact ordinance 2025-032.
May I have a second, please? Thank you, Ms. Hutchings. A report from the mayor and Chilson. And as was outlined in the memo, this is to put us in line with what the borough is doing now on the their elections. The results of that election show that the borough overwhelmingly wanted to change it. Borough residents and city residents, the majority of the city residents also wanted to change the election date to the November election time. And so this ordinance will move that and make that change. It'll also eliminate the need of a runoff election for the position of mayor, which is just is an added expense, really. And then it gives the change to the election notices, the newspaper of general circulation. And we only have that here once a week now, I guess. And I'm not sure that's newspaper is going to be around much longer. So we have to have other means to do the advertising. And then the canvass board gets an extra additional day to count the ballots and make a report to the council. That's all I have. Mr. Chilson, would you like to add to?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think you pretty well covered all of the bases on this one. The only thing I would add is just really emphasis on the importance of keeping our elections aligned with the borough. I believe it's pretty well established that our community has an expectation at this point, given the way that our elections have historically been run, that they can come and they can vote for their municipal elections on the same date. And I believe if we do not make the decision to align at this point, we're really just inviting a lot of confusion and problems with our elections moving forward. So I think it's prudent to move forward with this at this point in time. I would thank the council for their support on it.
Actually, I'll just add one other thing, just as a sidelight. A lot of our iPhones and everything else have already put in election notice dates, times like the first Tuesday in November. And I had somebody ask me the other day, it says, wow, are you going to go vote today? And so it'll kind of eliminate that confusion when it says election day. There's going to be an election day. So, okay, moving right along to the. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on ordinance 2025-032? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on that ordinance? Seeing none, we'll take a look at the Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Vice Mayor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. When I read through it, I did have some initial concerns that I brought up with the city clerk that she was able to answer. I think it is very important because the media is not as reliable as it used to be about disseminating information. And we do have twice a week newspapers and that I read online and don't get delivered, but some people still get it delivered. That when we get to where we know we're going to have an upcoming election and we have vacant seats to fill, that we do everything that we can through social media, through whatever public media is out there to get the word out, not only when we're have the opening for elections, but also when we get to election day, because I can see complaints coming from people. Well, I'm used to voting in October. I didn't know you moved it to November. And so getting the information out, whether it's 2026, 27, every single year is going to be important.
Any other comments from the council?
I would just
Go
echo
ahead,
that
Joe.
I would just echo that I fully agree with that sentiment. My understanding of this is, of course, removing the requirement to advertise in the newspaper doesn't preclude us from that. And I would make the assumption that our staff would still continue to do that for major events like elections whenever possible. But we aren't necessarily going to be in a position where we violate our own code for a requirement we can't fulfill if the paper were to go away.
I have every confidence in the city clerk will be standing out on the street corner with a bullhorn telling everybody what's going on. Any other comments from the council? Seeing none, we'll call for a roll call vote.
Chilson,
Yes.
Wackler,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Hutchings,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Kincaid.
Yes.
You have 5 yes votes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-032 passes on a 5-0 vote with 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 2025-033, repealing Soldotna Municipal Code 2.14 mutual aid agreement introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the adoption of ordinance 2025-033, repealing the Soldotna Municipal Code 2.14 mutual aid agreements.
Thank you. May I have a second, please? Ms. Hutchings. A report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In essence, this ordinance is a cleanup ordinance. It's cleaning up the portion of code that references the mutual aid agreements. And doing the research, I found that in 1991, the Kenai Peninsula Borough adopted an ordinance establishing the Central Emergency Service area. And that next day, the Soldotna City Council also adopted an ordinance transferring the fire protection powers to the borough. So at that time, because of the transfer, and then the voters approved it in October of 1991. Because all of the powers have been transferred for fire department, fire company, or fire patrol, which is what our language states, we actually don't do any of that any longer. So it makes sense to clean up our code with removing this reference because all of that authority now lies with the borough.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on ordinance 2025-033? Seeing and hearing none, we'll take a look at Zoom, and I see no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Seeing and hearing none, are there any objections to approving ordinance 2025-033? Seeing and hearing none, the ordinance is adopted by unanimous consent. Move on to the next agenda item is ordinance 2025-034, amending Soldotna Municipal Code, Chapter 2.08, City Departments generally, amending Section 2.11.020, Finance Department Director, enacting Chapter 2.16, Human Resource Department, amending Chapter 2.44, Public Works Department, and enacting Chapter 2.46, Utility Department, introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Ms. Hutchings.
I make a motion to enact ordinance 2025-034.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chilson. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I've spoken of in the past, as you know, the city became a home rule municipality. And what I found within our code, there's still some reference to Title 29. Only certain portions of Title 29 are applicable to a home rule municipality. So I've begun the process of cleaning up, so to speak, the language regarding Title 29 as well as other grammatical things that we find along the way, basically updating code. So this ordinance updates the code, and I'll go through a summary of it. In Chapter 2.08, City Departments generally, it does remove outdated references to Title 29. It clarifies that departments are created and abolished by ordinance, and each department shall have a designated director. And should that ever occur, one get abolished and or enacted, which you do see in this ordinance, it comes back to you as an ordinance to do so. It recognizes that creation of two departments previously in the section previously identified as reserved, and those are the Human Resources Department and Utility Department. And then there's some grammatical changes. Within section 2.11020, the Finance Director, the language has been updated to reference Finance Director as opposed to Municipal Treasurer. Municipal Treasurer is in Title 29 specifically. And again, we're not subject to that portion of Title 29. And I did, speak to the Finance Director, and she prefers the title Finance Director. And it does make sense to do so. It also clarifies the Finance Director's duties as set forth in Chapter 3.06 and then some other portions of code. As I stated, the Human Resources Department has been established in code. We do have that department, so it recognizes that and defines the duties. Public Works Department, there's an amendment there that removed Utility Division from the Public Works Department and then updated, there's some grammatical changes there as well. And then the last amendment, section 2.46010 through 030, establishes a utility department and to see operation maintenance of the management of the city's water and wastewater systems. And then it further defines the utility manager position. Those are the amendments.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, which is ordinance 2025-034? Anyone here in the audience wishing to discuss ordinance 2025-034? Seeing none here, we'll take a look at Zoom, and I see no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Hearing and seeing none, are there any objections to enacting ordinance 2025-034? Seeing and hearing none, ordinance is adopted by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 2025-035, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $68,500 in the equipment replacement fund for the purchase of a replacement utility service vehicle, introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Ms. Hutchings.
Make a motion to enact ordinance 2025-035.
May I have a second, please? Vice Mayor Parker. Thank you. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The utility manager is here to speak to regarding the vehicle's use, excuse me. I will speak to the vehicle's age. The purchase of this vehicle will replace one of our vehicles that has been in service since 2005 and has had over $30,000 worth of repairs on the vehicle. Because of this and the ongoing issues, it has met its useful life. And so the recommendation is to purchase a new vehicle and outfit it for the use. This appropriates the funds to do so. And again, if you have any questions about the actual use of it, the manager is here to speak to it.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, which is ordinance 2025-035? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on it? Seeing none, I'll take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Mr. Carey.
I just thought that'd be nice to hear from the department. What is going to be the use of this vehicle?
This will primarily be a line vehicle to, I turned it on. This will primarily be a line vehicle, a service vehicle to operate valves, do our regular maintenance, snow plowing. It'll be right in the fold with all the rest of them. It does replace everybody's favorite truck in the fleet, that one that's been there the longest. So we're sad to see the other one go.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Vice Mayor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. So I see in here money for plow, tires, toolbox.
Mhm.
So this will be equipped with a plow so that you can do all the clearing down at the treatment plant?
Yes, it will, and all the lift stations around town.
Okay. You do the lift stations too?
We do.
Any other comments from the council? Actually, I have a quick question. Did you have a problem with the lift station? Because where I was going home last night and saw a red light flashing down the street.
Constantly.
Okay. All right. All right. All right, moving right along. Are there any further council comments? Any objections to enacting ordinance 2025-035? Seeing and hearing none, the ordinance is adopted by unanimous consent. Next item, agenda item is new business, and all of that appears to have been under the consent agenda. The next item, mayor and council reports. Mayor's report. On November the 10th, I had the opportunity to attend the K Beach Elementary School Veterans Assembly, where the entire school population was in an assembly to honor and show respect to the veterans who were there. And there was quite a turnout. And it's a very great, very nice event. And it's done every year. And I think they said they've been doing it for about the last 15 years. And it's great to see all those young kids out there and the veterans who can make that assembly. Next item is on Veterans Day. Had the opportunity to attend the ceremonies at the American Legion Post in Kenai. That was held out on November 11th at 11 a.m., which is the traditional Veterans Day. Very, very good turnout. Quite a few veterans there. And in fact, there was probably 60 or 70 of them there in attendance. And then last night, I had the opportunity to attend the University of Alaska Scholars Awards banquet at the Soldotna KPC. And there was 83 students on the Kenai Peninsula who were awarded scholarships through that program. And there was 17 of them in attendance that night, and they were able to receive an award and acknowledgement. It's great to see all these young people that are doing so well in school and continuing on in their education. And hopefully, most of them will come back to our community and be a vital part of and serve. And let's see, one last other one. This afternoon, Chamber of Commerce luncheon, they awarded Student of the Quarter, and be pleased to announce that one of Kyle's daughters was the Student of the Month for the Skyview Middle School. So it was a good event. It's good to see, we're taking a look at our kids that are winning awards, and some of them are just amazing when they get up there and give their little speech, and it's makes you feel good, warms your heart. And I think that is, I will be gone starting November 19th through December the 5th. I'll still be in contact by email or text messages or whatever, but I will be attending a conference and then relaxing a little bit in a warmer climate, like about 70 degrees warmer. So that's all I have. Will council reports on boards and commissions? We have none tonight. Report from the city manager is the next agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a written report from a couple of departments in the packet, but I have a couple of other items to report on. On Monday, there was a meeting held with the school district in the cities, all the cities in the borough regarding pools. And it was announced that the district does not intend on operating pools after the school year. There wasn't a specific ask from the cities. Actually, was kind of surprised that there wasn't, but there wasn't a specific ask. And there also, we needed a great deal more of information before really any recommendation could be made. Both the city manager in Kenai and myself did reiterate that if the ask is for cities to take over or to consider it, we needed information before we could bring it to our city council. So we are expecting more information, hopefully within another month. I'm not quite sure, but as soon as I have any information, I'll bring that forward. And we've also requested another meeting with them to gain further information. So that is their plan, to not operate pools. And anything more that I learn, I will definitely make sure that I pass on to you. I spoke earlier of during the work session regarding a text message from our lobbyist Genevieve regarding the shutdown, the government shutdown, and it does appear the government will be open tomorrow. Federal government will be open tomorrow, or at some point anyway, and that our CDS funding is still in the continuing resolution bill. So we'll see if that does continue forward and we receive funding, and it is for the Marydale project. Today I met with Jill Schaefer, who was here this evening from the governor's office, and just to really touch base, but one thing that we talked about, and as you've seen in the news, all of the activity regarding LNG and Glenfarne, and I've felt the need, and the cities, again, when we have our monthly meetings, we talk about things that are affecting our communities, and one being always housing, and then really housing for the project that, well, it sounds like it is coming. It's going to happen. And what I feel that we need within our city is utility expansion. And part of the state revolving loan fund, which is a great fund, and we heard about it during our work session. And the city has received funding through that fund, and we will continue to do so. But it is for replacement and other items. It is not for expansion. So as we've all heard of, the president's executive order, I cannot quote it, but unleashing Alaska Energy, I'm going to paraphrase that, and basically that anything that will help with the project is on the table to talk about. So I asked that we talk about expansion for our cities, not just us, but also Kenai, of our utility systems, because expansion of those systems will allow housing development. And we're going to need that for both of our cities, all of the area for that matter. Of course, I'm focused on us, but for that. She did state that she would talk to the governor about it, but then I will follow up, because why not, pursue that as a possible avenue? I'm not sure if it's viable, but we'll continue that conversation. This past weekend, as you know, I was at a dog show, but what I want to talk about is that So High Hockey stayed at the exact same hotel that I was in. And I walked in and there are like a lot of young people. And they were so amazing. They're like, hey, move so she can get through. And they just parted the way. They were perfect, very polite. And I really appreciated seeing like, So High Hockey, look at you guys. Anyway, so that was nice to see them. And that's really all I have, unless you have any questions.
I guess I'm a little concerned with the pool issue. There hasn't seemed to be much discussion on this, at least public discussion that
Right.
I've heard of.
Mhm.
And is this a school board decision or an administrative decision? Is
I-
there any leeway in this, any room to make it not happen?
I understand that it is a school board decision, and of course, then it is a borough asset. So I'm not quite sure what that communication is at all. There was not someone from the borough in our meeting. And several people made that comment that it would be nice to hear from the borough what they are planning with their asset. So that's part of the information gathering that we will have. I do believe it all comes down to funding, because all of, funding to the cap and all of the other issues, and the lack of funding. And if I understood it correctly, then if they don't run the pool, then there's more funding to go elsewhere. So, that is an expensive endeavor to run pools, and that funding will be used elsewhere.
And that was for every school.
Every school in the borough. Every school with a pool.
Any questions for the city manager?
Sure.
Oh, Ms. Martin.
Thank you, through the mayor. Same question, questions to ask. I know that you won't have the answer to.
Mhm.
If we were to help in any way keep pools open, would that be a fiduciary responsibility solely, like we're looking for money and they administer? Or whether it would be like a Parks and Rec, and whether we need to hire someone for pool maintenance, the whole bit? And just obviously those are questions that I have for, would it be, are they looking for someone to sponsor and then they operate it as they normally do? Or would it be part of like Parks and Rec and we would incorporate that into our programming? Because obviously answering those questions leads to more questions, but thanks.
Mr. Mayor. That was part of that conversation, because literally there wasn't an ask. We didn't, I'm glad we have the information that they're closing the pools, but there was nothing else as far as to go on. Are you asking us to consider taking it over? Terry and Kenai brought up, are you wanting us to come up with funding to provide funding so you can operate? Within our managers meetings, we have concerns about taking it over. One being the PERS implication, getting down to that 22% of employees. And what happens, they become our employees, then we become PERS liable. Is that something we can afford? One, that pools are very expensive. Is that something that we want to take on, and can we afford? Joel earlier had said that they asked us to take 2 pools. One's not in our city. There are a lot. We have tons of questions, especially the city managers. We have tons. We have a meeting scheduled with the borough mayor on, I believe it's December 2nd. We try to have a meeting every now and then, in-person meeting, and we've asked the mayor to come as well, and we do plan on asking more questions of the borough and their intended, what they're intending to do with their assets.
Mr. Mayor, I don't mean to turn this into an impromptu work session on pools, but I just want to add my own comment on this. I have deep concerns about the cities considering taking on responsibilities of these pools in the absence of the school district having the financial capabilities of running these, which is its own unfortunate situation that we're all aware of with state funding and the situation associated with that. Our city manager is point on in the fact that these are borough assets at the end of the day. And I know that there was a lot of excitement about the possibility of potentially restructuring these under service areas to fund them. I know that the Nilchik had progressed towards putting that question to the ballot this election with a Nilchik service area to fund their pool. However, that had failed, and I believe in the lead up to that, in parallel, there was discussions at the borough level here, I think being headed by the mayor's office or someone over there, exploring the possibility of supporting additional service areas for other pools or maybe even a borough-wide one. And I think the real solution we need to see here and advocate for as a city and a coalition with other cities and pursuing this is a Kenai Peninsula Borough recreational service area to support these pools as well as other recreational facilities. And I think what we're all seeing here is the borough basically trying to toss this potato and hope that the cities will pick up the bill while it kind of avoids its own responsibility. So I don't want to lose sight of that.
Anything else? I have a lot of concerns about this. Not only there's a large financial issue there, but there's also a big liability issue there. Go ahead.
I really like what Representative Chilson, council member, just mentioned, because it seems to me to put it out to the people of the borough is something that should be done. I would like to speak very much to the issue of safety. We have so many lakes all over the borough. The pools provide, I think, a very needed education for water safety so that we don't lose so many of our young people as well as older people because they don't know how to swim. And so I would hope that as we think about this, as we move forward, I hope it is not simply a decision that one part of government says we're just not going to do pools anymore. These schools, for the most part, were approved by bonds, and people voted to have schools that have pools. Again, very clearly, there's been votes, and so I hope there'll be a consideration for a way for the people for borough-wide to talk about what to do with pools. And again, I just really want to, safety is just so important. As someone who's lived here a long time, we've lost a lot of people in lakes, and I think that's a critical issue to keep in mind. And so that I hope that we stay involved. And I don't want to be negative, but it is not feasible for the cities to take on the pools. It just is not on many different levels. And it may be an easy way for someone to say, oh, we'll just give it to the cities and let them do it and even blame us. That isn't the reality. The education is not for the city of Soldotna. We do not run our schools. We don't hire the teachers. We don't do that. And so that, again, I hope it'll be a more comprehensive look at the entire borough. But I just think safety for kids is critically important. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this issue came up probably 7 years ago when they were talking about cutting down Skyview. There again, there's a pool that's not inside the city limits, and that even raises more liability issues to me, for me, that we'd be doing something outside the city limits and outside of our tax base. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens and move forward from there. Anything else on your report? Anything else from the council? Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is number 11, public comments. Are there any members from the public who would like to speak on any item? Seeing no one here in the audience, I'll take a look at Zoom. I see no hands raised there. Next item, council comments. Ms. Kincaid.
So first for sports, I wanted to say the hockey team did end up winning their games up there in the valley. At least from what I saw in our school email. And they're going to be playing Eagle River at home at the sports center this weekend. If you guys wanted to go see, I'm pretty sure the game's at 1 p.m. Our wrestling teams are heading to their largest tournament this season, so go Stars. We have a lot of strong wrestlers, especially our girls. Our swimming just wrapped up their season with swimmers getting 12th, 10th, and 6th at different events at their state meet. Volleyball is heading to state this weekend. They just left today. We had our send-off, and they won their regions tournament for the first time in, I think, about 41 years, so it was a pretty big deal. And in other news, other than sports, we hosted our first annual Veterans Day breakfast. We decided to, as a student council, and we have a new director, so we decided to do that, and it was a great success. So if anyone ever would want to come later, I'll suggest that we invite. We are running our food drive, and we will hopefully have a community drop off up shortly. I'm pretty sure we've had some different discussions with that, but that'll be out on our social media when we do that. And I wanted to thank you on behalf of our hockey team. I'm glad that they're treating everyone right. And thank you for considering and trying to help with our school pools. I know that's a big thing for students, and just even considering it as a thing. And just thank you for that, because we really do appreciate it. Even though I know that it would be a lot to take on and probably not feasible. But just thank you for considering it as anything. That's
I
all
think
I
the
have.
volleyball team had their first game today, didn't they?
I know they left, but it might be tomorrow. But
Well, wish
yeah,
them luck.
I will.
Ms. Hutchings.
Well, I would like to say, I hope everybody makes an effort to get to the Boys and Girls Club Gala that's on Saturday night at our wonderful new field house. And I hope we really do support it. I saw yesterday on the news that Anchorage was closing a number of their Boys and Girls Clubs, and I was quite surprised. I know that we have an excellent organization down here and we do great fundraising, and it's sad to see that other areas don't have that kind of commitment. So again, hope to see you all there and have a nice evening.
Ms. Wackler.
My only comment was also going to be mirroring attending Boys and Girls Club. It's a wonderful organization that supports families in this area, not only with after-school programs, but sports programs. And it is an essential piece in after-school and having parents be able to continue to work. It's a huge asset to us on the peninsula, and if anyone can support it, please come out. That's all I had for today. Thank you.
Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to speak just a little bit about Heritage Place. Yesterday, part of, day before yesterday, as part of Veterans Day, did a presentation out there to the family members as well as veterans who are part of Heritage Place. I hope people keep in mind what excellent staff, technicians, service providers. Heritage Place is a huge resource for our community. It allows us to take care of people, particularly that have need. And again, it was wonderful to be out there. I got to do the presentation last year as well, and I was very pleased, and I'm thankful. I used the mayor's proclamation. I got permission and read it, and they were impressed with that. And the last thing I just want to mention about Heritage Place, for those that want to be looking ahead, if you go to Heritage Place on Veterans Day, you get red, white, and blue Jell-O.
Mr. Chilson.
No comments this evening.
Vice Mayor Parker. Moving on to the next agenda item, executive session. We have no need for one this evening. Next, pending legislation, we have ordinances 2025-015 and 2025-017 will be out for public hearing in February of 2026. I'm not quite sure where 2025 has gone, but we're getting pretty close to the next one. Meeting announcements, December 3rd, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 5:30 p.m. December 17th, City Council meeting, 6 p.m. And December 18th, Airport Commission meeting at 5:30 p.m. Having nothing further on our agenda, we are adjourned.